Welcome to the Den, the Dark Entertainment Network. I am the Gothic Rose, and this is a channel where the news meets conspiracy theories. It makes babies in my brain, and it comes out my mouth. If this is your type of content, be sure to like, follow, subscribe, and hit that bell, because I am not going to stop. Hello, dear fiends of the Den. We are back with the Epstein conspiracy, and my only question is this the beginning of the end for Trump and his MAGA support? Because there is some serious, serious words being flung around. Now, of course, everyone from Marjorie Taylor Greene to Lauren Boebert to Mike Johnson, who put this to a vote, and we know what happened there, to Mike Pence, and even Ron DeSantis is saying we need to release these records. And Ron DeSantis in 2024, I believe it was February, he wanted the files released. He authorized the release of the files through the state of Florida. Now, Trump is lashing out, and he is saying now that his supporters are weak and he doesn't want their backing anymore. Oh, really? After you took their money and they slathered themselves from head to toe in your hats and your t-shirts and your flags and your image and put whatever you said out there on their cars and their bodies, you don't want their support anymore because you promised them the Epstein files and now you can't deliver? I don't think so, sir. And back to his statement, he did say, "Thank you for your attention to this matter." He is that predictable. You can pause and read this. I don't even know what to make of this word salad insanity, but there's no radical left Democrats trying to take you down when you are the one hiding the list that you say does not exist. So why is Ghislaine Maxwell in prison? So here's the thing. Alan Dershowitz is saying that this is Trump's worst nightmare, and this is former Epstein attorney. He confirms that the client list exists, and he's proving the Trump regime is hiding the Epstein files. So that 2 minutes and 53 seconds of missing footage that Pam Bondi swore was 60 seconds and from 1999, but it's 2 minutes and 53 seconds from 2019. Well, you can see that there is and was something to hide. And in 2019, Donald Trump was president. And you can see here that not only is Donald Trump listed on this flight log, but so is Marla Maples and poor Tiffany Trump. Yeah, there is absolutely something for him to hide, don't you think? But don't worry, with friends like this in the House, the Republicans will block every effort to force the release of these files, which to me just sounds like some kind of conspiracy. Because as we can see right here, this is not cognitive dissonance. This is not lies. This is not fake news. This is real. These right-wing influencers had their hands on phase one of the Epstein file. The MAGA hats are clearly shown. And knowing now that the MAGA movement, most of it came from wanting to know what's in these files, it is incredible to me that the man who started MAGA will not give them what they want and is turning on them. Now, the DOJ will not allow, it seems, the Supreme Court to listen to Ghislaine Maxwell whatsoever. So I want to talk a little bit about her trial and what went down. So the thing is, she right now is serving a 20-year sentence, but she, according to Pam Bondi, trafficked no one. And I believe that she was never allowed to present her evidence because it would have exonerated her as a victim of Jeffrey Epstein rather than the madam, or at least reduced her sentence because she was in something probably well over her head. Remember, she was a socialite. So she's not necessarily smart in the ways of the world. But she had these testimonies against her. Okay. Now, obviously, at the time, these were all minors and they used pseudonyms, all but one. So I want to just go over a little bit of these testimonies and what seemed real and what didn't. I kind of have an issue with the fact that three of them went under pseudonyms during this trial because they were adults at this point, and one was brave enough to put her face out there. So we had Jane, who was 14, saying Maxwell and Epstein groomed and abused her and participated in adult acts with her. And that was Maxwell participating with adult acts with Jane. Now, there's Kate, another pseudonym, age 17. And this is saying that Maxwell recruited her for the infamous Epstein massages and asked her to wear a schoolgirl outfit. Then there is Carolyn, first name only, 14 at the time. Again, Maxwell groped her and arranged over 100 appointments with Epstein. Now there's Annie Farmer, and she is the only victim who used her real name. She was age 16, and Maxwell gave her a nude massage and groped her at Epstein's New Mexico ranch. Now, I believe her more than ever because she was not afraid to show her face. I believe her more than the others. But I'm not saying I don't believe the others. I just would have liked to see more evidence that they were willing to come forward with their real names. Now, all three go on to describe meeting and being groomed and being taken shopping and, just being, I guess, paid attention to by these older people who were grooming them for some things. And these testimonies really needed to be heard to, I guess, put her in jail. But I'm so confused now that I can't wrap my head around why they're saying there's no files when this whole trial went down and 4 witnesses came forward. So the witness I want to focus on is Annie. Okay. So she is the only one, Annie Farmer, to testify under her real name during the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. And she says something that's quite terrifying. I don't know if anyone caught on to this, but she says that her mother, Janice Swain, did initially approve of Annie's trip to Epstein's New Mexico ranch, believing it was a mentorship opportunity, and Maxwell has positioned herself as a chaperone and someone who could help Annie with her academic ambitions. So, Swain later told the court that Epstein referred to Maxwell as his wife, which added to the illusion of legitimacy. And of course, Annie was abused by Maxwell during that trip. She doesn't say that she was abused by Epstein during that trip. So, what this is saying is Annie's mother's approval wasn't based on knowledge of the abuse, it was based on trust that was deliberately manipulated. But let me just stop for a second and say your daughter was 16 years old. How is this any different from Courtney Stodden's mother being okay with Courtney Stodden marrying Craig Hutchinson, a man in his 50s who was grooming her? I want to say to this woman, Annie Farmer, your mom was cool with you being groomed. Why would she allow a 16-year-old to go to New Mexico? I don't know how close or far they lived from there, to a ranch for a mentoring session when you didn't know how many other girls were going to be there. I read an account that said that the mother, Swain, was enamored by Maxwell and Epstein. Maybe they gave her money. Maybe there was some sort of a business arrangement. Maybe there were promises of things, but I can tell you, and Correct me if I'm wrong, but my mother would not have allowed me to do anything like this at any point in life. The only way I would have been doing any of these things is if my mother did not know. And the second she found out, it wouldn't have happened anymore. I don't know, you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments, because that testimony, although incredibly terrifying, isn't all Epstein and Maxwell's fault. The mother was okay with it. And how could you say she was duped? Wouldn't protecting your child and motherly instinct just kick in? I don't know. That's just me. But again, as according to the Tennessee Holler, Charlie Kirk is going to trust his friends in the government because, as they said, he got his marching orders. This man eats spaghetti out of a plastic Ziploc bag. I just threw up in my mouth a little. Gross, disgusting. No. Let's not trust Charlie Kirk. Now, I don't know what this does right now, what Pam Bondi or Donald Trump or the whole administration was thinking, but I don't know, does this add fuel to the fire or insult to injury? Maureen Comey, who also just worked on the Diddy trial, was let go. This is her statement. Yesterday was unexpectedly my last day in office. I was summarily fired via memo from Maine Justice that did not give a reason for my termination. Every person lucky enough to work in this office constantly hears 4 words to describe our ethos: without fear or favor. Do the right thing the right way for the right reasons, without fear of retribution, without favor to the powerful. For the majority of my nearly 10 years in SDNY, the hard part seemed to be acting without favor. That is making sure people with access, money, and power were not treated differently than anyone else, and making sure this office remained separate from politics and focused on only the facts and the law. Fear was never really conceivable. We don't fear bad press. We have the luxury of exceptional security keeping us physically safe. So long as we did our work with integrity, we would get to keep serving the public in this office. But we have entered a new phase where without fear may be the challenge. If a career prosecutor can be fired without reason, fear may seep into the decisions of those who remain. Do not let that happen. Fear is the tool of a tyrant, wielded to suppress independent thought. Instead of fear, let this moment fuel the fire that already burns in the heart, at the heart of this place. A fire of righteous indignation and abuse of power, of commitment to seek justice for victims, of dedication to truth above all else. It has been an honor to fight for those principles by your side, Maureen, obviously Maureen Comey. Truthfully, where are we at in the cognitive dissonance that the government is still trying to push upon us? No one is believing this, and everyone is starting to wake up to the lies. You can't tell people there is a list and then tell them there's not, and then keep a woman in jail for a list that you say doesn't exist, and you won't allow the Justice Department, will not allow the Supreme Court to hear her case. We need to know who is on that list. I don't care if it's a Democrat. I don't care if it's a Republican. As stated, there are no place for these people in our society. I don't care if you're a favorite Hollywood star. Bye. Too bad, your problem. Don't do that to us. Don't force this upon us. We're all here to protect children and make the world better for them. And all these people managed to do was make us fight with each other, making one think the other side was one and the other. It's crazy. So if you have anything to add, anything at all, leave a comment. Or if you have a big, long story, email me at welcometothedenpodcast@gmail.com. And thank you for joining me in the den.